We're sitting on it, baby. We're sitting on it.
We are John and Michelle, and we believe memories are more valuable than material possessions.
That's why we waved goodbye to 2,400 square feet of house and said hello to our 35-foot fifth wheel.
We are finally headed to the Badlands, and we are super excited, but also nervous. It's going to be our first time actually boondocking. We're going to be boondocking for 3 days. We've been planning and reading and researching. The place where we're going is pretty well-known boondocking area, so I'm not too concerned about the location, more concerned about having enough water and how to manage that. We're going to be about 4 or 5 miles from Waldrug, so we'll see Waldrug and just enjoy our new adventure.
We left Mitchell, South Dakota the Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, headed west into the Badlands, and it was really a beautiful day to drive. And no sooner than we arrived to the entrance of the park, we were already coming face to face with the wildlife.
6 prairie dogs.
6? Oh, look at that one running.
Oh, 7.
We're literally right across the street from the entrance to the Badlands. And there's bison out there. There's prairie dogs over here, and they've got a lot to say.
To immediately come face to face with the wildlife there in the Badlands set the tone for a pretty magical experience. And when we got there, we found a really nice level spot right at the edge of the cliff, and we set the camper up in such a way where we were pointed, I think, east and west, so that our door didn't open toward the cliff. But we were able to sit outside and enjoy the sunset and the sunrise. We had those breathtaking colors, and when we first got the rig set up, we watched a storm roll across the plain, and we saw a rainbow.
Yeah, that was probably the coolest part of the trip, I think. Just seeing that rainbow out there, so close, but yet in such a distance.
Where's the pot of gold?
We're sitting on it, baby. We're sitting on it. Oh yeah. Being able to be here and see that's gold.
I better get my camera.
Yeah, you should get your camera.
Should I do cloudy on here?
Maybe.
You know what today is?
Maybe. What?
Today's the first day of Pride Month. But what does that represent? Remember all those tests we did with the inverter when we were still at home base? Well, this is where the rubber meets the road. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm gonna walk and see how far away I can get and still hear it. I was remarking coming in that this is every bit, to me, as beautiful as the Grand Canyon. It's just a different formation. I mean, that's what we're parked next to. It's magnificent. I can still hear the inverter. Even out here, you still have neighbors. You still have to be considerate. I mean, you have to be considerate of this creation that God has given us to steward. And this nation that people have died to protect. I think we're in good shape. We survived night one boondocking in the Badlands. It's a whole different ball game compared to Walmart, but really not that much different.
Well, I mean the views. The views are a little bit better.
I meant being off grid, but yes, the views are absolutely incredible.
It was, wasn't it? What did you think, Annabelle? We had some beautiful sunset views. We had even more beautiful sunrise views this morning. No, you slept in. I opened our shade so we'd wake up. We are off to explore. We're going to go to the visitor center at the Badlands National Park and do some hiking trails.
Hey kid, never stop running. Breakbeat, a dream that's drumming on. In the backseat, we're humming, and we rise up with the setting sun. Climbing to see the view, right on the edge with you. Not afraid to fall. Here's to the ones who always find a way through the unknown. 'Cause we're willing to chase after our gold. Wherever we find home inside the free fall. Never playing it safe is where we belong.
I just realized why this is so much fun. It's because every kid loves playing on a pile of gravel when they're little.
Always find a way through the unknown. 'Cause we're willing to chase after our gold. Always find a way through the unknown. 'Cause we're willing to chase after our gold. Wherever we find home inside the free fall. Never playing it safe is where we belong. Where we belong.
If there was any aspect of this trip that was bucket list for me, it's seeing those guys over there.
awesome. It's one of my favorite creatures on earth. There's just something about them that stirs me up, and it makes everything worth it.
Good morning. We just finished our second night boondocking here right outside the Badlands, and we're doing pretty good. I just had a really good long shower, and we've got about a third of a tank of water left. We've got one more night here, and then we're headed up to Mount Rushmore tomorrow morning. But today we're gonna go see Wall Drug. It's one of those places you have to stop at least once to say that you've been there. So come along with us as we go to Wall Drug today.
It's easy to stay hydrated at Wall Drug because they are the home of free ice water. The second day that we were in the Badlands, we got to go into Wall and take in the historic Wall Drug facility, and that was a completely different day than day one and hiking in the Badlands Park, but it was just as special.
It really was. I think the most interesting part of Wall Drug is not necessarily being there and seeing it itself, but the history behind it. It started with Ted and Dorothy Husteads. They bought Wall Drug back in 1931, and Ted had just graduated from pharmacy school in 29. And him and his wife both felt drawn to own their own store. And after they had talked to their family, you know, they really wanted to find a pharmacy or a drugstore that they could call their own and run. And their only contingencies for moving to wherever they were going to move is it had to be a small town, and they had to have a Catholic church in it. They were very committed to their faith, and Wall had both for them. But the 326 people that actually lived in Wall at the time were all poor. So after talking with their families, they all agreed to pray about it and ask God for guidance in what they should do. There were some not so favorable opinions about them going because it was so poor, and not really sure how that was going to work out for them. But after everyone prayed about it, they all actually agreed that it was God's will for them to go.
There's a certificate here that certifies that Dorothy is a member of the General Society of Mayflower Descendants.
Oh, that's neat.
To perpetuate the memory of the Pilgrims, to maintain and defend the principles of civil and religious liberty, to cherish and maintain the ideals and institutions of American freedom, and to oppose any theories or actions that threaten their continuity.
If you've ever been to Wall, like we said, it's just dry and hot and dusty. I mean, on that plain, the wind is blowing, and it's just, and there's really not a whole lot around. At least at that time, there wasn't. And even now, there's not a whole lot around besides the Wall and the national park. But his wife, Dorothy, was very much an optimist. And after almost 5 years, they had little to no growth in their business. And she just had this simple yet tide-turning idea, was to put up signs along the highway. In 1936, in the summer, they put up these signs one afternoon, and people just started flooding in. They never stopped, and they've been busy ever since, which was just amazing.
Now I see what all the fuss is about.
It's kind of like a P.T. Barnum kind of thing for retail. But the gimmicks are gimmicks, and the thing that blows my doors off is the history. There were several different spots around Wall where we found out how hard it was to live in that part of the country. How many homesteaders gave up and walked away. And to have the faith to say, we're going to stick it out, and we have no idea how this is going to work, but we feel like God's going to make a way, and then he does it. that, I think, is to me, the most important and most attractive piece of the Wall Drug legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually reminds us of our story to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, what we're doing has just been a step out of faith, into his guidance and direction and
provision.
This place is incredible.
It is. We had 3 nights here boondocking right on the Buffalo Grasslands National Park, and it was right outside of the Badlands, which was just amazing. We did the loop a couple times. We saw all kinds of wildlife, bison, pronghorns. What else?
We saw
prairie dogs.
We saw prairie dogs. We saw white-tailed deer. We saw all kinds of wildlife, and they were active. And we saw incredible formations of minerals and rocks here in this beautiful creation that we call planet Earth in the United States of America. You know, it was everything that we expected it to be and so much more. We had excitement, we had nerves, we had exhaustion, and we had a little bit of anxiety, but man, it was all worth it.
It was a little bit more than a little anxiety. I mean, living on this cliff right here with a 3-year-old is a little intimidating, to say the least.
A 3-year-old that's not afraid of anything.
Right. But the kids loved climbing on all of the formations, and it was a great time.
So we are hooked up and headed to Keystone, and on our way to see Mount Rushmore.
See you later.
Wherever we go, we find home inside the free fall. Never playing it safe is where we belong. Where we belong.
What are we doing right now?
We're trying to get reservations to the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, there's a timed entry system into some of the national parks. Specifically, the one that we're trying to do is Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. This is worse than trying to get tickets to see the Rolling Stones.
I think I got the 8th.